Swivl Sessions, interviews with field service entrepreneurs. Get insights and strategies from those who took the leap and risked it all to start their own home service companies. Awesome session with Ryan Rhodes from Mystique Waters. Rob, what do you got?
Ryan was incredibly impressive. I don't know if we've talked to anyone yet who has started in the industry from the ground up, has done everything, and really, laid a incredible foundation for growth like he has. He took some time to plan things out, and it's showing. So in 1 year, he's at $1 million in revenue, and it's kind of unheard of. So
hyper growth, and I mean, this guy has done everything and done it well, I might add. And he said something: work on your business, not in it. And that's a very great point to make from a business owner. So Ryan Rhodes
laying the
with
foundation.
Mystique Waters.
Yep. Welcome to Swivl Sessions, where we dive into the world of field service entrepreneurship. Now, before we get into today's interview, let's introduce the hosts you'll be hearing from. First, let's meet Tyson. Tyson is our customer experience guru, offering invaluable insights from both residential and commercial perspectives. But just a heads up, we've known about a few uniquely acute phobias: clowns, mayonnaise, and bears, just to name a few. But I learned a new one today. And it's about it's Thanksgiving. It's stuffing that's inside of turkeys. I've kind of never seen anyone cringe as much when we're talking about stuffing, but there's something about that cavity that freaks them out. So despite all these quirks, his understanding of customer needs is fearlessly spot on.
It's called dressing here. The stuffing thing is definitely weird. All right, next we've got Jeremy, the guy who's out there saving the planet with his estate sale recycling, rocking his granddad's wardrobe, and somehow also being the neighborhood hero when your car won't start. If you need a jump, Ryan, he's your guy. If you need bocce ball skills, please look elsewhere. Give it up for Jeremy.
Awesome, man. Thanks for those kind words, Tyson. Gosh, now, hey, Ryan, meet Rob, our operations expert in home services. He's an absolute mastermind at streamlining workflows and keeping the team on track. But when it comes to lunch, Rob's dedication to salad borders on obsession. Watching him pick through lettuce every day is like witnessing a man trying to chew his way out of an existential dread, one kale leaf at a time. Meet Rob.
Okay.
Insert
Well,
awkward
today,
pause.
You can't edit that out.
That's going. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Ryan Rhodes. He is the enterprising founder of Mystique Waters, a full-service company based in Mobile, Alabama, the surrounding area. Ryan stepped into the world of entrepreneurship by starting his own pool service right there in Mobile, and their service area covers the greater Mobile Bay area. We are excited to hear about what inspired him to launch his venture, the challenges he's navigated, and the insights he's gained throughout his journey. So, Ryan, welcome to Swivl Sessions. It's great to have you here. How are things going on in your world?
I noticed, in your guys' background, it's raining over here today, so it's a perfect day for a podcast. There's not much we can do today, so
That's right.
yeah, it's going.
Hey, Ryan, tell us about your background. Sounds like you've done quite a few things leading up to owning your own pool business. Give us a background history.
Before we go into the background, can we go into this background, the Captain America background?
Yeah, we can go to like I said, I've always been a Captain America fan. He's one of my favorite comic book heroes, and my favorite thing is the first movie they bring out, and I teach that to my kids nowadays and other people I talk to, is he doesn't like bullies. And so one of the things that I love about Captain America is when he says that line is like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just don't like bullies, And so I have that up there as a reminder. But yeah, I'm a huge comic book fan. I've started this whole streaming thing. You talk about the background. I used to do video game streaming and other streaming and producing podcasts, helping people out with even video editing, things like that. So the vast technology background. And then the other background of, other work that I've done and traveled throughout the world. I started out of high school. I went right to college at the University of Alabama. And when I went there, I was part of the Army ROTC program. I wanted to pursue a military career. Decided not to do that. I had some personal issues and family issues that, popped up and made me think that, if I'm 3, 4, 5,000 miles away from home, how fast can I get home if there's a family emergency or somebody, and you can't. There's no way to do it. And my mindset's always been 110% no matter what I do. I'm dedicated to, whatever the mission is. So I was fortunate to be able to get some behind the scenes, which really helped me excel in everything I've done, especially in the operations and logistics world of business, outside business, whatever it may be. So I did 2 years there, and then finished out my time, and I actually moved down further south. So that's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I moved further south to the Baldwin County area, which is about 30 minutes from the Gulf of Mexico, and been here ever since then. That was 2013 that we moved into our current home, and ever since then I've been pursuing other ventures, and specifically to this business. I actually had a friend that was working. I was in between jobs, and I had a friend who was working at a pool company, and she was like, if you need something temporarily, I can get you on. And I said, sure, cleaning pools is easy. We actually had a pool. I owned a pool. I said, cleaning a pool should be easy. And so I took the first step there. I went over. I interviewed with the owner of the company and was hired on the spot. I was put in a truck, and I was paired with another lady who had been there for a little while who cleaned pools. And normally the process for the training there is about 2 weeks, to really get into it, understand like the route and taking care of pools and et cetera, chemicals. I did mine in 3 days, and they gave me my own route, and they basically here, spread your wings and fly. And I did that. And it was fun. I got into it, and I started from the ground level. So I started as, learning how to clean pools, chemicals, which is a big thing. Everybody struggles with chemicals, unfortunately, but that's just a thing. Some people are whizzes at it. Some people don't. It's just understanding what to do, how to do it. And you create these cheat sheets, if you will. And so I did that for a while. I did that for about 6 months, and I was approached, hey, you look very mechanically inclined and electrically inclined. Would you be interested in doing service work, going out there and repairing equipment, installing equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And so I said, yeah, I mean, I know enough to get myself hurt with electricity or zapped. And he said, that's perfect. And so I went out there and I did things that others couldn't do. Automation is a big thing in the pool industry now that came about. And I became a whiz at automation. It's just like having a computer, which the background here that I've been doing for a while, it just kind of made sense. It clicked. So I learned automation, and I brought more business to the business. And then I was approached because of my leadership background and things that I've done in the past, I was approached to be the operations manager of the company. So I did. I accepted that. And so I did that for a little while. And so I've got, pretty much the entire gist of everything from the very basics of what drives your business forward is that, on the ground, boots on the ground individual who goes out and cleans pools, face of the company, et cetera, et cetera. And then I got the high level of, behind the scenes of a management. What do you do on the backside? Where do you secure, your vendors and all these other things, contracts, how to write the contracts and agreements and, just the meat of everything. So I did that for a while. And then I ended up going, and I think probably the bigger highlight was I left the pool industry for a little bit. And I went to Mobile. I live across the bay, but I went to Mobile. It's not that far away. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. Just don't forget to swim. And I got to work with a guy that I met at a security company. And I met him in passing. I brought up this whole thing. They have this motto called set the standard. And I was just upset one day. I came in. He's the VP of the company. I came in. I said, man, I'm just upset because I feel like you guys say set the standard, but there isn't one. And I like to figure out where can we find that standard. And I said that to the VP of the company, not knowing that he was the vice president of the company at the time. And he goes, come sit down with me. Let's have a talk. And we talked for like 3 hours. And we had a really good relationship after that. And I ended up leaving that company. And then about 6 months, I want to say, after I left, he called me out of the blue. And the first thing he said was, because he knew I had this like really bad, in the mouth type taste for this company. And he said, look, I don't work for that company anymore. And that's all he had to say. Because if he would have just kept calling, hey man, I'm good, but he started that off because he knew that. And he said, hey, I don't work for that company anymore. I'm starting my own. And I said, okay, what are we going to do? And so we ended up, he had me come on board as his operations director, and we built this staffing company. So I got into the world of staffing as well. What's really cool about that, you put all these things together from what I've done in the past for military, what I've done staffing, what I've done in the pool world, which is what I do now, and the combination of basically everything, it really does set somebody up like myself for success to where I've done that before. I can pivot. I know what to do in the situation or where to look. A big thing with staffing is HR law. We a lot of our HR stuff. We did. Hey, we're going to set the standard to be California because California is like the metropolis of, hey, if you can do anything wrong, it will be done in California. So you might as well set your standards to California standards. And then if it's not so strict in California, or where you are, then you're prepared for California if you ever want to go there. But start there and work your way back. And then whatever applies to you, applies to you. What doesn't apply to you, doesn't apply to you. So you have that like laid out groundwork, if you will. So that's really helped and establishing the things that I do now. But it's funny how I was thinking about this the other day. And I also am a firefighter, your local firefighter. So it's, that combination too. I joined that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, if you got like a whole day, I'll tell you my entire life story. I should write a book about it. But there's a lot of stuff that at the end of the day, a lot of people look at me and they say, look, there's two things I love about you, Ryan. The first one is that you inspire me. Like you really do. Everything that you tell me, everything that we talk about in this company, like your vision of what you want to do, let's do it. Like that's exactly how I feel. I trust you. I see it happening. Let's do it. And the second one is like from the military side of things, from being a firefighter, from the things I've done in the community here when we have the hurricanes come through, my life has always been dedicated to the community. When I was in high school, my core values in my life were the Air Force's core values, which is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that you do. And then I went over to the Army and I adopted their core values as well. And so I live those, I breathe those, and that's just me. That's my embodiment, but that's my purpose, I would say, and I enjoy it. So that's a little bit about my background. Like I said, if you've got a whole day, I'll tell you more, but I think it's a good snapshot.
I think I want you to keep talking, but I know we need to move forward.
I mean, you
I know.
the stage perfectly. So you have this rich background with a phenomenal foundation. So then you go off and you start this new business. What was that like?
It was scary, as it always is. I think it was more scary for my wife than it was for me, because I came home one day. I was working at a pool company I used to work for back in the day. And when I came back to that pool company, this was after my little adventure I had, and I worked in like a corporate environment for almost 4 years. And so lost purpose, found purpose again. That's what I was like, you know what? Hey, what's funny is, so this was the epiphany. I was driving home one day across the bay from Mobile. I was doing a little bit of consulting for another business. And I passed a pool company. And I knew the guy who was driving it because he lives in Mobile. And I said, wow, okay, that's interesting. I've never passed him before going this way, And then I got to exits and, going home and I passed another pool company, completely opposite pool company. And I said, wow, 2 in 1 day. This is interesting. What's going on here? And then I went to another intersection. I was about to get home and I passed another pool company. So I passed 3 pool company trucks in a single day. It's never happened. It's always like a sign, And so I came home and I literally remember walking in, talking to my wife. I said, I need to talk to you real quick. I think God just talked to me. I really do. Like I can't explain it, but I just got hit with a message and I've never been hit with this message before. And I am empowered. I said, I'm going to go back and work for that pool company. And what's funny is it was almost like a sign of go back into it because somebody needs you. And I went back into it, but I basically picked up my operations manager role like I had before. And there was a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that between the time I left to now that had happened with this company. And it was almost like a godsend, if you will, because when I came in, I said, hey, I can fix that. Hey, I can fix that. Hey, I know how to fix this. Hey, I know what direction to do it here. And he was just amazed. He's like, where did you? And I said, I had to leave. I tell people all the time, it was almost like the Moses thing where he had to leave his people and then he had to do what he did. And then he came back to save them. And I told people that all the time. I said, hey, I had to leave because if I would have stayed here, I would have never learned what I've learned. But now that I've learned it, now I get to bring it back and we get to, expand on that. So we started doing that and we started seeing a positive increase in production, efficiency, how people were interacting. Just the employee morale alone was big, but we kind of hit a brick wall. And that was more on the owner side of things and how they do things. And I remember talking to him at the very beginning. I said, look, I got 2 things that are like, they're non-negotiable for me. The first one is, respect is a big one. Yeah, I'm 32, and I was like, I know I'm not 60, I know I'm not 58, I know I'm not an old guy, but because I'm 32 years old, don't look at my age as a number. It's not about wisdom and all that. You think you're 50 and you know more than me, you may, but I may know more than you in some areas, So respect is a big thing. I always, give respect. I never demand it. I always earn it. And so that was a big one. I said, respect is a big one. And the second one was, I told him, I said, this is going to be really hard for you to do, because I know it's hard for me to do for some people. And that is just trust me. If I ever have a problem, or if you ever have a problem with me where I say trust me and I mess up, it's on me. But I never want that to happen. And I'll be the first one to come to you and say, hey, you trusted me in this, I failed. I don't do that. Those words, just even saying that right now makes me I want to throw up. I don't do that. I never fail. I always learn, and that's one thing that a lot of people kind of have that mindset, is you always learn, and you have to learn through failure. And I came home and told my wife, I said, she said, so how was work? I said, I'm done. And she said, what do you mean you're done? And I said, I basically resigned today. I said, I'm not going back. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to start my own. And she said, really? I said, yeah, I'm going to start my own. She said, that's pretty scary. How are we going to pay for the bills? How are we going to do it? And I said, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it always happens that way. We'll figure it out. And so February of this year, I bit the bullet and I started working on my company, Mystique Waters. And it was one of those things where you got to lay the foundation. A lot of business owners, they start something out of necessity, and because there's a huge demand for it, so they just go to work. You got a lot of people in the service industry that there's a demand for service, like handyman. I think that's the number one thing I see in this area that picks up pretty quick, especially after hurricanes. And we're fortunate the way that it is, but it's just how it is. And from February to about mid-March. And I wrote down all my company SOPs. We have a handbook, almost a 28-page handbook. I wrote down, I have a knowledge base that is an internal knowledge base, and I could set it for customers, which I hope to do eventually, to where if somebody has a question, they don't have to call me on the phone. Any one of my employees that have an issue or a problem, they can go onto their own portal, they can type in the question, and they can get the answer. And what's really cool about our knowledge base is if there's no answer, they can still ask the question, and the question comes to whoever I designate to be. Right now, obviously, it's me, and I get the question. It's like, hey, this was not in our knowledge base. Here's the question. And I answer the question, and once I answer that question, it now goes back into that knowledge base. The employee is notified of that, answer, and then now it's a growing knowledge base, which I love, because there's a lot of questions that you're not going to get every single time. It's just something that's going to grow. Yeah, and so that way, they bring it up and they go, oh, cool. And it's also training them too, like it's learning. They're learning, like, that is the process. Odds are somebody down the line is going to ask the same question somewhere, somehow, some way, and the answer is going to be right there for them. So we've done great ever since then. We started with our first client, which was an above-ground pool, and the first words out of his mouth was, please tell me you do above-ground pools. And I said, yeah, we do. Why? And what's funny is in our market, there's just a lot of companies that do, like, cleaning and servicing that just do not touch above-ground pools. And I knew that going into it. But the market has shifted, since then, for a good reason, not a bad reason, to where almost every other pool company in my area just won't touch above ground pools. I'm like, Yahtzee, let's do it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with an above ground pool,
Why?
It's just they're afraid to. I don't know.
They look down at them.
My one boss did. Yeah. He used to call, like, anybody that started. I'm sure he called me this too. He used to call everybody that started their own pool company a one-pole wonder. I have 3 poles in the back of my truck now, sir. So I'm now a 3-pole wonder. But yeah, it's one thing I always asked him that I said, I look at it this way: is you got somebody that has a pool. It's a pool's a pool, whether it's above ground, in ground. It could be a bathtub. I mean, water chemistry is still the same. They have a problem. We have a solution, and that is, we know water chemistry, know how to clean pools. We know chemicals that can help, keep those pools clear. I don't see a difference. And the only thing I got back from him was, well, insurance won't cover us. And I'm like, what do you mean insurance won't cover us? And he kept telling me that they have to have, like, a deck, installed around the above ground pool. And I didn't buy that. And even to this day, looking into it, I still don't see, my insurance covers me 100%. No matter where I am, what I do, I don't have an issue. What I think it boils down to is, looking at it, most people have an above ground pool, and I hate saying it this way, but I'll cast it out there. They do things cheap. That's what it is. And what I think what a lot of those guys do in this industry is they look at people who have above ground pool and they go, well, they're not going to want to pay for service. They're not going to pay for the chemicals. They're not going to pay for somebody, to take care of their pool. And my thought is completely opposite. My thought is, no, that person got that because they want to enjoy something in their backyard.
They're proud of it.
They just wanted to do it. Yeah, and they just want to do, like, a budget, but it's still a pool. It still operates the exact same way as another pool. It's just maybe a little cheaper, but you shouldn't put them in their own category. I mean, everybody has, issues with their pool equipment. And the best part about it is that I picked up plenty of customers where they would go to a pool store, one of the local pool stores here, and they would walk in with their water sample, as we normally do, and the person behind the counter would tell them what they need to do, A, B, C, D, for their pool, and then the person would go do that, but then they would have problems because the person behind the counter didn't realize, you got a tiny sand filter. You can't throw 30 pounds of calcium in your pool with a tiny sand filter. It's going to cloud it. And so I picked up customers, a lot of them, because they would go to a pool store and that person behind the counter wouldn't take the time to ask these questions to understand. They would just read off that sheet. And then now you got a customer that's ticked off at that pool company because they're supposed to be the experts, but they messed up my pool. And I had this one lady that's just like, hey, can you fix it? And I went out there on site, looked at her pool, and I said, yes, ma'am, I can. She said, how fast can you do it? I said, I could probably get it done in 3 days. She said, no way. I said, yes, ma'am, I'll do it in 3 days. She said, okay. I got it done in 2 days. I cleared it up in 2 days. And it was a simple matter of just, vacuuming it out. They didn't have a way to vacuum it out. And in our area, that's kind of the fuel that I started with. Was there was a lot of pool companies in my area that don't really take the time to train, mentor, really care, which is why like our email is we care. Our core values are we care. And it's written out that way because I don't want any of my employees or any of our customers to think that it's just a swimming pool. We care about it. That's what we do. We want you to enjoy your backyard. I think it's a partnership. It's your pool. It's your backyard. It's your backyard oasis. It's your home away from home. It's your whatever you want to call it. You want to enjoy it. My job is to keep it to where you can enjoy it. That's how the partnership works. And in that thinking, everybody wins. I've never had a single customer say, oh, you're too expensive. I can't handle you. In my area, they're like, you know what? If you know what you're doing, I don't care how much it costs. I just want to be able to get in my pool and swim and not have to worry about it. So it's been a good journey. But like I said, it was kind of scary when we first started off. And we went really quick because in this area, again, like I said, the market's there. It's so saturated with people that kind of get into it, but they don't go 100%, or they were never trained. They didn't have the background that I had to be successful. They were just that one pull wonder. Let me put that pull in the back of my truck. I'll pick up, 10 or 12 clients and I'll take care of them for a little while. And then, I'll find something else to do. It's kind of like an in-between, if you will. And I was part of that too. I thought it was going to be like an in-between job too. And then I just realized that everything for me clicked. It was just very easy, for me to, take it on. And so we've done very well since then. And it's been a great journey. I've been tested quite a few times, more on the pool side than business, because what I've found so far is everyone who's in the pool industry, at least where I am, they're okay with pools, but come to business side of things and they're like, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about that. Let's put that under the rug. I got an accountant for that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you should probably, learn how to write stuff off. Like marketing is a big one you guys aren't taking advantage of. And none of them are. And I'm like, come on guys, that's like business 101. Even I know that. And I didn't get a business degree, so, but yeah, it's been great. I'm sure you can tell from the way I talk, my enthusiasm and drive. This is me, man, 100%. And
Ryan,
love
you're
it.
obviously good at what you do, because you've answered about 4 of my questions just in your talk. But one question you didn't answer that I'm very curious about: why the name Mystique Waters? There's got to be a reason behind that.
I asked myself the same question, actually. No. So here, this is the God's honest truth. I've been doing a lot with ChatGPT for a while. I'm sure a lot of people have started using AI, and I use my AI to supplement like things that I want to do. And so one day I said, I'm going to figure out a name for this company. Here, I gave the prompt to ChatGPT. I said, hey, I want you to go through all the pool companies in the United States of America. I want you to run through every single one of their names. I want you to come up with the most brandable name based on all the names in the country, which ones are the most popular and everything else. And I want you to come with 10 different names that I could use that would fit that bill, basically. And there was some other things I put in that prompt. It spit out 10 names. I think Mystique Waters was number 6. It was not number 1. And I was just going through and I was reading it, going through, and I said, okay, what does mystique mean? And so when you look up the word mystique, it's an aurora. It is basically an awe moment, right? And so I said, I get that all the time, because I'll take a green pool and I will tell the customer, give me 3 days, which is hilarious because they'll be like, ain't no way you're doing it in 3 days, man. I've been trying to clear this pool for 2 weeks now. It's still a swamp. There's no way. And when I clear it in 3 days and it's crystal clear blue, they get that, oh, wow, that moment, that aurora. So I say, you know what? I think that speaks volumes to me, because me on the back end, you have that moment that, wow, this looks great. And I want people to have that when they go to their backyard and they entertain their friends, especially at nighttime. They want this nice little setup to where they're enjoying, the outdoors. I want them to go out there and go, wow, this is great. Look at that water. My God, that's inviting. I want to go swim in that, never get out, type thing.
I always like to ask about expectations before you jump into your new business and then how those related to you afterwards. And you're just going to be unique because I don't know if I've talked to someone that sounds like at least they put so much thought and effort into building a foundation and has had such a history of creating experiential foundation to when they started a business. So it sounds like you put a ton of thought into it. So even more interesting what your answer might be with this. Okay. Tell me about your expectations. And then after you started, was there anything that you didn't foresee?
So my expectations were almost like dip your toe in the water and kind of see what the ripple effect does. And yeah, that the expectation was I might catch a few, and that's cool. I was not expecting us to go from 0 to 60 in a matter of a month. And I'm not kidding with the minds. I had phone calls left and right, people that started using me and they don't contact anybody. They want to like DIY it themselves because they don't trust anybody in the area to do a good job. And that was kind of like, a fuel point, but I didn't expect us to blow up as well as we did. I knew the market was there. I just didn't know it was going to be like, if you want it, Ryan, it's yours for the taking. I didn't know that, you know what I mean? So the expectation was, I think it's going to take us a few months to get going. And that wasn't the case. It was literally when we first started our company. We started in February, but I didn't really launch a hard launch until about mid-March. And we had already picked up 10 clients by April 1. And I was at 22 clients by June 1. And that was on routine maintenance. And by then, I had already done about 30 or 40 repair jobs, service jobs in that time frame. But my whole goal was always at least go out and see what's going on, because there's a lot of people here in my line of work that will tell you it's going to take us 2 weeks to get out to you. And to me, I think that's unacceptable. It shouldn't take 2 weeks, especially if you're the owner of the company. If you have time to go out there to make connections, I'm going out there to make connections. So if that means that I've got to sacrifice my time to go out and just look at what's going on and talk to the customer and let them know, hey, thank you for letting me out here. I see what needs to be done. Let me send you over a quote tomorrow. That customer is a lot more inclined to use you and feel more trusted with you because you're not waiting 5 days or 6 days. You're actually valuing their problem. I didn't know this. I got a notification after I think we talked, and it went to my email. I checked it later, but we became in 2024, so far this year, we are the #1 voted home service for pools in this area on Nextdoor.
Wow.
Never even knew that. Never even knew that. I didn't even know. Thank you. I'm like sitting here going, I don't remember there being an award ceremony or anything, or anything
If you're not
like that.
first, you're last.
It's foresee us doing a lot more in the very, very, very near future. So it's been good. So
Awesome. Ryan, you mentioned
Good
Nextdoor. How's technology helping you as far as getting the word out or dealing with your customers? Is there a specific platform that you use or any way that it's helped you?
So we Nextdoor is definitely a big one because a lot of the pool companies in our area and even service professionals, I can say that in the whole, a lot of them are not using Nextdoor. They're not using it more predominantly, I should say. And they're using Facebook. We use Facebook too. We use Nextdoor. We're probably gonna end up doing a TikTok at some point just because we want to get, kind of the videos out there and have some entertainment purposes. But those are really the only platforms that we've been using as far as like marketing goes. There was a few others that I looked at, but then the cool thing about me is that I've worked in the industry for a while and I've done every single position you could think of as a whole. So I could test them and I could see, okay, would this be beneficial for the average cleaner? Would this not be beneficial? Would this be beneficial for the service guy? Because what the service guy needs versus what the cleaner needs are two different things. And so I was looking for that platform that was going to be the catch-all. And it's one of those things where if we can make it to where it's easier for the average Joe to start a company, like a pool company, and know from the ground level, from just a technology standpoint, that if you just do X, Y, Z, you'll be A-okay. And you can fill the rest of it in later on as you grow, and you get better. Some people will tell you that the person who's able to quote the quickest is usually the one that's going to get the job, right? And I would actually pride myself in telling you that right now I quote within about 5 minutes of being on that customer's property right in front of the customer, because I have my system set up to where, like, if I go to a pool pump and I need to replace that entire motor, all I got to do is identify in my system, I type in the model number of that motor, and it pulls up every single thing that I need. I add it to the quote. I add my labor on it. I make sure the customer's email and phone number and address are all correct, and I hit send to their email. I'll wait a second. I go up and knock on the customer's door and say, I just sent you our quote, but if you like to see it, here it is in real time. Here's how much it's going to be. Here's the deposit that I need if it's over a certain amount of number, a number. And if you're ready, you just let me know. I've only had one customer ever tell me, well, let me think about it. Every single other customer I've ever used is go on, do it. I said, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Let me take you, if I'm getting a deposit, let me get I can do it right then and there on the phone, take that deposit.
Speed is the key.
And once I do, that's
very
it.
important.
And then I say I fixed it and there's a problem. You call me and I'm going to turn right back around and get it fixed at no charge to you. I stand by that warranty. And the other thing too is that our speed and efficiency, when you call and you tell me what's wrong with your equipment, it's not going to take me very long to figure out what it is. And I'm going to do it right the first time. I'm not going to come back and do it wrong, or I'm not going to, in our industry, half-ass it. I'm not going to do half of what I need to do. I'm going to do the full thing. So those things, they matter, but it also comes from people that, do care. So I pride ourselves in having that as well.
Well, it obviously shows through, and the problems that you're having is handling hyper growth, and that's pretty cool for being in business for 8 months.
Yes.
Tell me,
yeah.
Before we kind of wrap things up, but this hyper growth that you have in 8 months, how many employees? What's your goals in terms of revenue, say next year for 12 months?
Yeah. So right now we have part-time employees because it just works out for our scheduling. So we've got 3 part-time employees that work with us, and 2 of them are service techs that have been working in the industry for actually both are right about 6 years, and they've worked with other companies out there. So given the ability for my service techs to do what they believe is right is tremendous, because they will think outside the box, and I love it because they'll come up with something and I go, I never thought of that, but you know what? It works. I would love to have 500 counts by the end of the year. I think that would be great. I think it's totally doable. I think it's definitely conceivable. I definitely know that it would be a lot of work, but it's going to be, with the way we have the system set up, I don't find that being hard at all. More of a challenge. And I'd love to be at the $1 million mark. I think that's a big one, like $1 million revenue by the end of the year. And that's not hard fetched either, considering that, and word of mouth is spreading like crazy. That they're just like, hey man, there's a new player in town. You guys got to use these guys. Like, they are your one-stop shop and all that. And
That's great.
And I love about annuity of being a business owner is that one of the biggest things I learned, if you don't do something different from your competition, or if you don't go the extra mile of doing something to diversify yourself, you are going to be left behind. I know that I speak volumes with the people that we also service, because I used to be a pool owner as well. I've worked for the companies. I know what the atmosphere is like. I know how they're treated. And I know that our company is a breath of fresh air. It's one of those things where, hey, we're gonna sign up with you guys. We want you guys to take care of our pool because we trust you. Whatever you need done, and that's like that's the best customer in the whole wide world, right? It's like, hey, we trust you, we love you. Whatever you need to do to the pool, we don't care. Just keep it clear, keep it blue, keep it beautiful. Let us be able to enjoy it, and we'll be happy. And my response to that is,
I love
thank
your
you. That's
motivation.
my job. That's it. That's it.
So it's obvious that, the sky's the limit. And I see that, obviously. Whether it's organic growth or through a merger, it's obviously that you're going to do well. You said earlier that people say that you impress me, and I assure you you impress me and these other two guys too. Last quick question is, I always like to ask guys, especially like you, like what would you suggest to someone who's just getting started out, jumping into the world of entrepreneurship and maybe starting their own business?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is this. It's going to hurt to take 30 days and not do anything with your business. And what I mean by that is it's going to hurt you to sit back and think. And that's what I mean, like not actually go out and do work, or you need to, if you're going to go out and do work, work in the morning time and the afternoon, work it on your business, not in your business. That's a big difference. I try to tell everybody is that a lot of business owners are still working in their business and they get so distraught and they get to the point where they're frustrated because they're always working in their business. Nothing's ever going right. They always have to be involved. I think the biggest thing is you have to have a paradigm shift where either you start off, which is what I recommend. If you're just starting off, do this now. It will set you up for growth later. I mean, good example. But work it on your business, not in it. Work on the foundation of your business. Think about every possible avenue that you want your business to go in. Think about all the documentation and your processes that you want done. How do you get point A to point B? And dumb it down to the lowest common denominator so that way all of your employees, when you bring them on board, you can train them or you give them a resource guide that says, hey, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. You got to set that foundation up because you want to get to a point, if you're getting to like a $1 million or $2 million company, you don't want to be involved in that every single day. But you do want I treat it as like the Army leadership that I learned is, you got your higher ups, you got your superior officers. They don't talk to the privates. They talk to officers. They talk to, higher officers that have other levels. And those officers don't talk to privates either. They talk to senior non-commissioned officers. So you have the different tiers set up to where, look, there are other people that you go to before you come to me. If you come to me, the reason you're coming to me is because nobody knows the answer and we're going to fix that, but that's a special thing. And so I would say that, again, work on the business, not in it. Take your time. You're going to sacrifice, like I said, it's going to hurt. You're going to sacrifice sleep. You're going to sacrifice time with your family. You're going to, your eyes are going to hurt. I can tell you that there were days where I would literally be on my computer. I'm just typing away and I'm going, I can't look at this screen anymore, But now I look back and I go, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for, we want to bring somebody else on board. Okay, cool. We're gonna give you this training program we put together, the process map, so that way here's what we do, and keep it growing. But take the time, do that first. Because there are businesses that I consult with back in the day, they're at year 7, and they're still trying to figure it out. They don't even know how they're going to, or they didn't. One of the things I think nowadays is drug screening is always a big one that people are kind of like, California and all these other places, they're starting to be a little bit more relaxed when it comes to certain, drugs in the system, et cetera, et cetera. And then we bought, off the cusp of COVID. And now they're thinking about going, we don't have a drug testing policy in place. We never had to have one. What do we do? And a lot of times they'll call like an HR company and they'll, put this massive expense on it. And it's 7 years down the road. And then that HR company goes, while we're thinking about it, you don't have an employee handbook, do you? No, we don't. Well, let's get you one of those too. Do you guys have, SOPs, like standard operating procedures? No, we don't have that either. Well, let's do that too. And now you're at 7 years. And not only are you at 7 years of business, but now you have been working in your business for 7 years and not on it. And now you've got to go back those 7 years and think, okay, let's redo this foundation again. And it takes time. And you get frustrated even more at 7 years because the V8 commercial where you slap yourself in the face and you're like, I could have had a V8. You kind of do that at year 7. You're like, I could have done this 7 years ago. And I probably would never had to call this consulting company or HR company to come in and tear my entire business apart to rebuild it. So Start that first. You'll thank yourself later on, especially when you start seeing the growth and you open up what I consider to be your guidebook. You open up your guidebook when like a problem happens or like you want to expand or you want to bring an employee on or whatever it is. And you just open your guidebook and go, here's how I do that. Okay, cool. Yeah. It's a lot less stress You've already got it laid out. So that's what I would recommend to anybody that starts a business. Take the time. It's going to hurt. You're going to have to sacrifice some time, but it's going to be well worth it in the long run. Absolutely.
So I think what I'm hearing is, and what I'm seeing is that you've laid a great foundation. You've taken the time and the effort and to think it through, lay it down, and that saves you time in the future. And it creates a lot of value going forward, and you're reaping some of those benefits now. That's fantastic. So Ryan, we're out of time, but I really appreciate you talking to us. It was
great story.
We could do a two-parter.
If we could,
I'm cool with two-parter. We absolutely. There's a lot more. We might create like season 1 and season 2 or something. Like.
Well, I love the entrepreneurial story, and this is what we like to dig into on this podcast. These stories always tickle me, and yours especially does. I love how you've done it, and it'll be kind of fun to see. We'll keep up with you. It'll be fun to see how you go how you go forward, and I'm sure it'll be
Thank you.
And other, what your advice to other entrepreneurs too, if they're listening or watching, I know that'll resonate with them. All right. Well, so a huge thank you to Ryan Rhodes for sharing those valuable insights and stories. It's great to see how much your passion, dedication has really paid off into building Mystique Waters, and we look forward to seeing what happens here in the future. I'm sure, like you said, the sky's the limit. And for all of you who are watching or listening, if you're in the Greater Mobile Bay area and are in need of any kind of pool service, make sure you reach out to Mystique Waters. You can find their contact information right here on the screen.
Put your finger up.
Okay, it's right here.
They are ready to help you with all your pool and maintenance needs. And you can trust that you're working with an expert in the field, obviously. Once again, thank you, Ryan, for being here with us on Swivl Sessions.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening or watching. Swivl's field service software is everything you need to run your field service for free. Until next time, check us out at swivl.tech. That's SWIVL.tech. And that's a wrap. Thanks, Randy.